Netanyahu would absolutely, positively try to murder King David. And here are the top 7 reasons why. Number 1, I'm just going to just kind of run through them, then I'll describe. That way you can get the gist of what's up. And I want to prove this mostly using the Old Testament so that I can appeal to Jews who have been deceived by humanism, just like Christians have been deceived by humanism, because the government today in Israel is not scripturally sound. It's not supported by the Old Testament. Therefore, by definition, it's Talmudic, and they were never allowed to add to it or take anything away. So that means King David had a heart for Yah. You know what I mean? He the heart of stone to turn them to flesh that the prophecy commands from the Old Testament. The methodology wherein which that occurs is through the cannabis of Exodus. And that is a fact. It is. I'm living proof, and I've been making hundreds of videos of various witnesses that have been on the same walk between leaving Christianity, getting into Hebrew roots, and being Torah observant. They are not being Torah observant. The dominant Judaism is not being Torah observant. Neither is Christianity. So the point is neither Christianity or Judaism or Islam, you know what I mean? None of the Abrahamic religions are obeying Torah, because under Torah, you're supposed to have judges of tens, 50s, hundreds, and thousands. That goes back to Moses and Jethro, right? So Scott Bunnell says, no, they're not recognizing the Jubilee they lost track of. Yeah, I agree. They're not recognizing it, but they're not even trying. It's not like there's a bunch of people trying to figure it out because they have, the intentions of this is like their top priority. Oh, we got to forgive the debts and repatriate the land immediately because those aren't the droids we're looking for. Oh, I like it. Okay, Richard Davis says, just left the bank, witness of affidavit to remove interest on a mortgage ecclesiastically, bringing one into agreement. I can't wait to see how it turns out if they will surrender. That's a really awesome topic. I appreciate that you brought that up, because once you really get what's going on, it's a confidence game. And the true king is the king that is proclaimed by our Creator. He's the one that anoints. He and he alone creates law. This is all Old Testament stuff. That is the roots of Christianity. And unfortunately, neither the Jews or the Christians are being obedient to it, because there's a prohibition against usury. Jews charging it upon Jews, like what's his name? Nehemiah, righteous Jew Nehemiah. When Jews were charging usury upon Jews, then he led a debt revolt, a successful debt and land and usury revolt. I said, pray ye leave off this usury, because that is a sin punishable by death. And Netanyahu he's just a puppet for the Rothschilds, right? Old Testament, the rich rule over the poor, and the borrower is the servant to the moneylender. That's Old Testament stuff. All this stuff is Old Testament. And it was the original Jews. They obeyed Yah the longest, where they did obey the laws for Jubilee, for debt cancellation, for usury abolition, for repatriating the land and living in a society not dominated by money, not capitalism. They didn't have capitalism, nor did they have, Bolshevik communism. But it's like the apostles. They sold everything to share it, and that's like I don't do that. I'm not saying I got this down by any means. I'm just saying where David lives, You know what I mean? Think of David like a wild Comanche Indian that absolutely refuses to be tamed, or like a stallion out, like a wild stallion where he's leading like 40 horses and they're like going through the forest and the meadows, and they're all amped. They're like a bunch of boys playing football. They're amped, like they're living their element tribally. You're in nature, like all of those, that tribal relationship. Like it's like when you take dogs out into the woods, they get tribal. It's like their inner wolf comes out, irrespective of the breed. I know this is a fact. Robin and I used to have a pet sitting business in Breckenridge, Colorado, and we would take sometimes up to 7 dogs and let them all just run free. And we would be stoned, and the dogs would be so happy. We would be so happy. And you're walking in the kingdom of heaven on earth. Right? David knew that the kingdom of heaven was on earth, just like Adam and Eve knew the kingdom of heaven is on earth. Because it is on earth. And David acted like that. And because he would be like an American Indian that knew biblical law. So he wouldn't surrender, but he would also create a society which did obey, and within that society, hey, we're tribal here, and we are going to defend ourselves from this warfare state, because they did beat their swords into plowshares, right? That's during the time of Solomon, I think that verse is from. Do any of you guys know that verse from Solomon about they beat their swords? And it wasn't prophecy. It is prophecy, but they actually did it during that time period because they weren't money driven. They weren't charging usury and turning everybody into debt slaves and prostitutes, where we all prostitute our minds, bodies, and souls on behalf of this satanic Babylon. It's Babylon. It's Pharaoh. And the Jews, the house of Judah and the house of Israel, we all need to wake up. We've been duped. So when I talk about this stuff, it's not I'm right and you're wrong. Like, no, brother. We've both been so deceived from our tribal, local, self-sufficient. Think of the American Indians or the Amish, where they're self-sufficient. They don't put their parents into old folks' homes. They don't watch TV endlessly, right? They're not idolatrous to the, porn everywhere. And like, just imagine David in this society. That's where he would be setting up a military perimeter. He would be building a wall. David would build a wall. It would be a fortified city, right? Because he doesn't want to, just like Nehemiah, he was trying to keep the buying and selling on the Sabbath. Like, oh man, like if we can just create one space, it was supposed to be the temple. Just create one space, one day a week, where we just are not money-driven fiends slaving away for the pieces of paper, the magic pieces of paper, and the rewards, the digits that they just type up, right? We just been pumped. How did we get here? We're the only species that pays, man. Like, come on. Okay. So I want to express love for those who might be there. They're like, oh, Netanyahu's awesome. They're the same people that think Trump is awesome. It's literally saying that, Pharaoh, he's not that bad. He's got some good policies. He's like going to build a wall and stuff, maybe, that's what Trump is. That's what Netanyahu is. Like, you're at war all the time. Your children are turned, just like it says in 1 Samuel 8, because we have a king. We're supposed to have a tribal society, but we wanted a king like the other nations. And it says right there, in your day of calamity, I shall not answer you. I shall not answer you. Scott Bunnell says, not only are they keeping Ephraim out of the Holy Land, they're giving more of it to the Arab state. Yeah. It's as long as the enemy comes to kill and destroy and to steal, and they're stealing the birthright. This is all over the birthright. Let me rattle these off as I've been off. So civil war, birthright. This is all over the birthright between Esau and Jacob. Lion King is a good analogy with Mustafa and Simba and Scar, where you had an imposter on the throne. Number 2, the 666 versus the scriptural menorah. There's instructions of how you build one of these in the Torah, but there are not instructions for the Star of David 666. That's idolatry. Number 3, more evidence that these are not your guys, meaning Netanyahu and the whole secular crowd, the only democracy in the Middle East, is that today on earth we have, it's a fulfillment of scripture. Actually, Richard David posted it a few days ago, is that your children and your women will rule over you. You're gonna, Yah is fulfilling his prophecy to throw us back into Babylonian / Egyptian captivity. And because we're in Egyptian captivity, we've been castrated. We've been domesticated. We're like this nice little house cats. But just like a nice house cat can turn into the roaring lion with a heart transformation, that's what we're missing in our walk. Is it's impossible for 13 bank families to enslave 7 billion debt slaves. It's impossible, because all you need is 144,000 to create an alternative economic system. That's all. That's how they run the game. Is they just set up, it's just a confidence game. They have digits and bits of paper, bits of paper, the money thing, the 666, right? There's absolutely no reason why we couldn't use our own bits of paper, bits of computer, digits, right? It's just idolatry, right? You can have a system that obeys without usury, where it's more or less barter based, all the way to the point where money is just kind of like irrelevant, right? It's just yeah, you know what I mean? Like when you're off, okay, like I've been well off in my life several times where money, it's not, you don't have to like sweat it. You're calm. But so much of the time in Babylon, it's always about just trying to survive financially. And if David was here, he would have compassion upon that. Whereas Netanyahu and the whole materialistic world, the Talmudists, they just view, no, this is our weapon to persecute Esau, because in within the deception, there's a controversy as to who Esau is and who is Jacob. The Bible is about a civil war. Going back even to Moses, at the first shot out, after Moses killed a cop, right? So Moses kills a cop, but the Israelites, they didn't go, oh, thank you for protecting one of our brothers. They said to Moses, what are you going to do? Judge us now? Like, do you think that you're the new boss because you killed a cop? Because they didn't want to surrender. Basically, Israel today doesn't want to surrender to either the state, the foreigners, meaning the state, right? Pharaoh. So she's rejecting Pharaoh to a degree, but she's also rejecting Yah's leader, meaning Moses, right? There were sheep which were refusing to be shepherded. And, Moses had to go spend 40 years to figure it out, go talk to the burning bush, the cannabis of Exodus, Yah's having direct revelation with him, just like he wants to give turn-by-turn instructions to all of his prophets to equip them in this time of the the abomination of desecration, which is in Jerusalem. And the end times prophecy of the Old Testament is, if you're in Jerusalem, when it's Sodom and Gomorrah time, like it is today, you want to be prepared to head for the hills. If you smell what Yah's cooking, if you can smell the sulfur which Yah is cooking, if you know what time it is, if you can read the signs of the times, so the women rule over them. That's a fulfillment of prophecy from Isaiah. Number 5, tribal exodus government. I mentioned it earlier. If these imposters really obeyed Torah, they would form a local tribal government, and it wouldn't have so much chaos. Number 6, they have a pyramid. These alleged Israelites have an Egyptian pyramid. Does everybody remember where the pyramids are from? Does anybody in the chat just, type it up? Pyramids. Where does that make your mind go? Like, if you can name a place, pyramids. I want to know why that is in the Israelite, the Supreme Court of Israel. Why is that there? Somebody give me a good answer why an Egyptian pyramid and an Egyptian obelisk is in the Supreme Court building for Rothschild moneylender, usurer. Why can't people figure this out, man? It's really easy. And the serpent, by the way, from the Old Testament, more Old Testament, Numbers, I believe 21. Okay, pyramid in the Knesset. Number 7, Jubilee. Rather than promoting the Jubilee, these guys have control of Hollywood, Madison Avenue, Disney. And if somebody like Spielberg was truly a Jew of the Old Testament that loved Yah and loved King David and loved Moses and loves the law of Moses. Spielberg, when I was a kid, when I saw Star Wars, my friends and I've recently been interacting with my friends from when I was in 7th grade. You know what I mean? Going way, way back. And I haven't interacted with them for 40 years. You know what I mean? A sadly long time, because I should have looked them up earlier. And I'm speaking to Spielberg, right? And the other guy, George Lucas. I don't know if one or both of them did, but anyway, Star Wars. Our obsession, because you watch a bunch of war movies growing up, but you're like, man, we're kind of out of wars, or there's not really the right kind of World War II fighting going on. So you're into the fighters and the X-Wing of the Star Wars thing, and the lightsabers and all that kind of stuff. And as kids, we would go to see that movie back to back, because these guys know that in each one of us, there is a hero of varying types that wants to serve and be edified by our community. And whoever controls the media controls who's noble. It controls the ability of the heroes. Whoever controls the media controls who the heroes are. It controls what children look up to. So we would all talk about, are you going to want to be Han Solo, or do you want to be Skywalker? What's his first name? Right? Luke? Right. Yeah, Luke. So anyway, growing up, you're on bikes riding home, and you're pretending you're X-Wing fighters, and everything is all Star Warsed up. Yeah, and then you'd go back the next day. It's summertime, and you got all this time. You we must have gone to see Star Wars 8 times in 1 month, and just loved it. If those Hollywood directors were truly wanting to be a blessing to all of the nations as Yah commands them to, and also commands that they crush the head of the serpent. And the serpent is the moneylenders from Numbers 21, where the Exodus Israelites, the Moses Israelites, they had to circumnavigate Edom. And that's where the snakes started biting it, right? And then what happened? The Nashek Hebrew, Nashek usury, Nashek snake bite, Hebrew, that all means the same thing, just like cannabosum in Hebrew, that's cannabis. The Nashek snake bite afflicted the Israelites, and they're dying from it. They're making an allegory here, right? It wasn't about the post, and they no longer like physical snakes bit them, but they were being oppressed in some fashion, taking loans from the poor or whatever. But when the usurers come, what they do is they turn a society into rebellion from Yah, so that just like happened with Nehemiah in Nehemiah 5, where everybody, the daughters and the sons get sold into slavery because you can't make the payments, and then they require a pound of flesh. And the pound of flesh is literally giving up our sons and daughters so that they're no longer tribally free, just like the American Indians. You know what I mean? They don't have like a central, like where everybody's paying the man. They don't have a police state. They don't have a standing army. It's a militia. Everybody's in the army that can serve, right? That's tribal. And we're so far removed from what that would be like. But the path where it does occur is through the good news of Jubilee. And it occurs with land repatriation because it's been stolen. All of it, all over. Every nation, every continent. And Yah's coming to reestablish his garden. It's a reset. It's a time of refreshing. And if these great, they're very talented. I don't hate them, but I plead to you, make a movie about a Nehemiah 5 righteous Jewish debt revolt, right? You want to be a blessing to all the nations? You want your children to live in a society where the swords are beaten into plowshares? If you want to de-escalate this hyper intense society of conflict and psychodrama, it's just psychodrama all over the place. This is how you heal it. This is how you diffuse it. It's Jubilee. So I think I explained those all pretty well. So I'm going to read through the comments to get back. Okay, I wanted to finish that prophecy about Numbers 21 and its relationship into the New Testament, because Jesus himself said that just as Moses raised the serpent in the wilderness, so shall it be with basically the return of the king. Because what he's saying is there's a prophecy there. In the future, what Moses showed his people how to overcome the venomous Nashek usury snake bite. And it's literally just to show the people there's a dollar sign. It's a pole which have some, maybe you're familiar with it. Maybe you've seen it around, man. Have any of you guys seen the symbol? This is a brass pole on a stick. If any of you guys are Bible students, you might recall it from the Garden of Eden. Does anybody recognize this symbol from the Garden of Eden? Where else might you see it? So anyway, Moses sticks this up in the wilderness. They're wandering around. It's after the captivity, and they only have obedience to one single authority because they're actual monotheists. And under monotheism, you only have one single authority, and that authority is the only lawgiver, as opposed to the only democracy in the Middle East. So I hope I've proven a case. I would love the debate. If anybody knows Benjamin Netanyahu, he grew up in Philadelphia, by the way. I grew up like a half hour from there. Like, I'm Jewish, right? How come I'll be King David? I'm willing. I'm taking job offers. I'll do it for free. I'm willing to clean the temple. I hope I've demonstrated my willingness to cleanse the temple of usury. I really spend a lot of time on it. We actually set up a usury-free local currency in Breckenridge, Colorado. So there's that. It's not just talk. Okay. So I want to get back into. Okay, John Michael Sudol said Netanyahu would turn Christ over to the Romans to be crucified again. I agree, but it's very important to remember it was the Jews, because this is a civil war. It was the Jews who murdered the Old Testament prophets. I should have actually included that, but that's actually proof from the New Testament. I think there's something in the Talmud where it talks about how they sawed. Do any of you guys have this? I would appreciate if somebody could post this, because it's another piece of the evidence that these are not this entity which is occupying Jerusalem is it's not the biblical Israel, and I'm trying to prove that it's a false flag, and it's identity theft, and it's idolatry and deception. So there's no better way to have identity theft, whereas Babylon, just like Babylon makes us into a straw man, a stick man, a fictitious entity, like a voodoo doll, right? So with this voodoo doll that they're using, which is a false Israel, the world is seeing all the evil stuff they're doing, and they think that that the Bible is evil. They think that the creator of the heavens and earth is evil because they see all this wicked stuff that the imposters, that Scar is afflicting on Pride Rock. Scar is afflicting this on Pride Rock. If aside from the Christians, remove the Christians. And by the way, in the Old Testament, everyone who was anointed was a Christian. They were the anointed. David was anointed. When David was anointed with the cannabis of Exodus, he immediately received the Ruach HaKodesh because he was selected by Yah to be the creator. Yah chooses the leaders. There's no voting. There's no need for majorities. This is all Old Testament stuff. Judges of tens, 50s, hundreds, and thousands. If two guys go for the same spot, you cast lots. That's how you do it, and that's how you can quickly overturn this wicked system. So thanks for the comments, guys. If anybody knows that verse in the Talmud talking about how they sawed Isaiah in half. So part of the Civil War is where, if you're Esau, the greatest way to usurp Jacob and get back and steal the birthright, right? That's all. It's prophecy. It's what Jacob did to Esau. Jacob did it to Esau. If you're wise as serpents, that means, well, there's a pretty good chance that the devil would do the same devilish thing that Jacob did in a Jacob Israel, right? He dressed up to pretend that he was Esau because Esau came out first out of the womb. So sadly, the way that the adversary has gotten us all confused and tricked and all that, he's created a false definition of what Esau is and what Jacob is, right? The false definition is of Jacob is this only democracy in the Middle East thing, right? That's not, that is not in the Torah, because judges of tens, 50s, hundreds, and they're creating law, right? Torah says that's what it means to be Hebrew. That's what it means to be a monotheist. So the Old Testament anointed is like David and Solomon and Joshua. They were the anointed leaders tribally, that they knew them growing up, knew them that these would be the guys that would have a heart for them because they were willing to tend the sheep tribally. and seeing this empire which is poisoning the tribe. Just like the very reason why Nehemiah launched his debt revolt in Nehemiah 5, the very reason we should make a movie about it. John Michael Soto says, those who deny Jesus as Lord and Savior are not God's chosen people. I agree with that. However, I'm trying to speak to the Jews and not base my argument on New Testament, but rather just using the Old Testament to judge as a judge. We're supposed to train to be judges based upon the morality of the Bible and the Bible alone, Yah's word and Yah's word alone. And to put Netanyahu on trial for crimes against humanity because he's misrepresenting Israel. David came from the desert and attacked a settled piece full of Goliath, and he lived in his country for 1,000 years. The Hebrews were invaders who had a matriarchal system, worshipped Ashtoreth, moon goddess. Abraham came from Babylon to Palestine as an immigrant, and Moses came to Palestine as a fugitive. Anyway, they have nothing to do with Khazar European Zionist Jews who have occupied Palestine. I agree, they're not the guys, but I didn't want to use the world to prove it. I wanted to use the Bible, and I'm using their own idolatry in the Knesset. They have a pyramid, an Egyptian pyramid, and an Egyptian obelisk in their Supreme Court building. And under biblical law, the judges in a court, the judges are the ones that rules. They are the rulers. They're not supposed to have a king. Jesus' mother, Virgin Mary, were Palestinian Amorites, not Hebrew. I disagree. Jesus read from the Bible and they have obeyed Torah. Moses killed half of his people in Sinai. I know when he came back down and they were doing the calf, it was a lot. I thought it was 3,000, to be honest with you. I don't know. You cite the scripture. Sodom and Gomorrah, how come? Did it happen because someone fucked his own daughters? Well, he got drunk, like is extenuated. The Bible is not condoning it. He who makes the claim bears the burden to prove it. That's what I'm saying. Like Sodom and Gomorrah, they were, that's a sin. All right. It's an abomination. And I agree having sex with your daughters. I think, Noah was drunk and they conspired to get him drunk because they were in fear that there would be no men to give them children. So it's kind of like when, the Bible has all sorts of failings of our people. Like it's just the people failing left and right and left and right and left and right. And ultimately Yah saying, I'm not going to change my law. I'm not going to change my Torah. I'm not going to change my law, but I'm going to change the hearts of my people so that they turn a heart of stone to a heart of flesh. It's through the cannabis of Exodus. And we burn the peace pipe. We sing a lot of reggae music. Come to see, we're going to be going to Reggae Rise Up on the Sunday show at the end of March in St. Pete, Florida. So we want all of our tribe to come and hang out. Send me a private message. Going to go see some reggae shows. The ancient Egyptians had a civilization long before Judaism. Same applies to the Canaanites who had a civilization in Palestine 5,000 years before Judaism appeared. When you say Judaism, people implicitly think that's the Old Testament, but Judaism is in fact the Talmud 4, which is like 500 years after Christ. I hear a lot of talk. You're one of those who denies the archaeology recently uncovered that verifies David's purchase of Jerusalem, aren't you? I never knew that was a thing, that David bought Jerusalem. You got a verse? I'm not familiar with that. Zionism uses religion to justify occupying Palestine. Judaism is a religion like Christianity and not a nationality or race. The ancient Hebrews belong to the Middle East, but modern Zionists are European bankers. Yeah, a whole bunch of them are. That's true. They're European. Generally, but aside from that, that's Yah wants everyone who's willing to change their heart to be into his kingdom. Everyone who's willing to be repentant. It's the story of the Exodus. Everybody who's willing to divorce Pharaoh. Joseph O'Leary, I'm willing to cleanse the temple. Best line of the chat. Thank you, Joseph. I need the encouragement. Christmas was Palestinian who revolted against the Roman foreign occupiers and their Hebrew lackeys. Maybe that's Christ. That's why the money changers handed him to the Romans to be put on the cross. The Jews murdered Jesus. Jesus whipped the moneylenders, but he's the Lion of the tribe of Judah. This is a civil war. It's Jew versus Jew, just like Nehemiah. Okay, for starters, Christmas is a Roman pagan holiday. Not a man or woman who could revolt against Rome. The very notion is absurd. That's like saying Veterans Day will revolt against the Republicans or even against America. Yeah, the veterans, I think, I'm former military and I've come around and we interact with guys. We just had a guest on this video stream. We call this stream the Witnesses of Revelation, and met a former Marine who is militant. And it's like, we're like, dude, let's be the witnesses. Let's go to Jerusalem and prophesy and use the Old Testament just like we're using right now to say, hey, you guys aren't doing it. And not only are you not doing it, you're not even talking about it. You're not planning to. You're disqualified because there's people here who want David and not Scar. They want the blessings and not the curses. Christ's followers were poor peasants and fishermen who were taxed highly by the Hebrew lackeys who were serving the Romans. Well, the money lenders rule, and the Jews were the money lenders. So it's actually the other way around is the government, meaning the Romans, they are the lackeys to the money lenders, just like today. The Vatican, they're not the bankers. Not that they don't have a bank, but they're not. There's not a cross on the one world currency. I'm trying to get my sampler out. The one with the star on it, the Star of Remphan. You know what it looks like? 666. Joshua was so cruel, he killed all the inhabitants of Hebron, killed the animal, cut the trees, and burned. Joshua, I'm guessing? Yeah, that's in the Old Testament. They spoke Aramaic, not Hebrew. Jesus went into the temple in Luke 4:18 and 19, and he proclaimed, he read from the scroll of Isaiah. So he read Hebrew from the scroll of Isaiah. And he went to Passover. You know, he quoted Moses repeatedly. He was a Jew. He is a Jew. He's the Lion of the tribe of Judah. This isn't tricky stuff. The David purchase was directed to Abdul, not you. Yeah, I'm just not familiar with that. David had to buy it, meaning he bought it from the Canaanites. So therefore, it was a more righteous deal. I'm not sure with that. I'm not familiar with that issue or that controversy or whatever it is. So I was going to show to support the basis of the thread. I got to take that down. Directed at you. Okay, I'm taking that down so you can read it. Okay, so I was making the analogy of the Lion King. So I just want to show you a little bit, Disney's evil. I get all that kind of stuff, but it's important to realize in the movies, there's lots of stuff in the movies where they use some biblical. The biblical stories are embedded into human nature because the creator of the heavens and earth, the creators of us, in order to reach contact with our inner child, our inner heroic child that wants to be validated by his community, that wants his parents to look at him with blessed eyes, that am I doing good? Am I doing it right? My son goes, hey, look at me. Like he'll like climb something and he'll be up really high, or he's doing something scary. And or if like we're singing, he's dancing and we all look, hey, he's dancing, he's singing too. And we're all like, if everybody's dancing in a circle, we want to make sure everybody's involved, right? Think of the movie Avatar, where it's like a whole tribe of people around or Avatar people, whatever they are. And they're all like swaying back and forth, and they're trying to heal somebody. Like the whole tribe is in prayer simultaneously, channeling Yah as to the best of their ability, thinking of the world with his morality, with his nobility, with his righteousness, with his concern for the poor, with his concern for the needy, with the king creators, the heart of Yah, the courage to be public enemy number one, like David. David was public enemy number one, where the Philistines were trying to kill him simultaneously. King Saul was trying to kill him. That is the fine line of where we need to walk. That is the fine line. We've got devils to the left and devils to the King Saul on the right, and Pharaoh or the Philistines on the left. And that's how Jesus was, right? Messiah, the King of the Jews. On the one hand, he's got Herod. On the other hand, he's got the scribes and the Pharisees and the Sanhedrin, and he's got Caesar. He's got all of these, because if you're trying to walk that narrow path, nobody wants to go down that path, because they know that it puts you on a life after the road to Damascus. And people do not they don't want any part of having to go on a road to Damascus where you have to completely change teams the way Moses did. Completely. You grew up your whole life thinking potentially that you might, because you knew about Joseph, right? Thinking that you might become king, or Joseph, the executive officer. Again, the Marines, you have an executive officer. He's the assistant to the unit commander. The second, he's the XO. Speak to the XO, chain of command stuff, right? So anyway, that's why Joseph was charged with the administration. These guys were willing to go to prison and be killed painfully, tortured, abandoned by everyone. They'll have your entire society go against you. That's the courage that modern Jews and Christians need to cultivate. And think of that from the Star Wars movies, because kids kind of want to do it, but you get comfortable in life and you don't want to give up the creature comforts, because how do you have the air-conditioned house in Florida with 2 kids and a wife, right? How do you make it all happen? So you have this place of okay, I kind of get it theoretically, but what does that look like in the real world? So we'll get into that in a minute. And full screen. So the Bible is a parable. So in The Lion King, you have a setting, right? There's a setting in the Bible, and that's Jerusalem. It's the setting. Jerusalem actually means the city of peace. But there's a period of time in both the movie and today where that society, Pride Rock, turned into darkness. It was dark. There was no more animals to eat for the hunters, the The lioness hunters could no longer get food. The hyenas had taken over. Everything was upside down. It was dark. The very grass was no longer. Just like Earth right today is the butterflies, the monarchs. I read a story many nights with my son. It's called the pollywog, the caterpillar and the pollywog. The caterpillar and the pollywog, because they both change into. It says, when I grow up, I'm going to turn into something else. So it turns into a butterfly, and one of the most common butterflies I remember from my own childhood was a monarch. Growing up in Pennsylvania, and they're on the extinct list because we're destroying our environment just because we have the wrong authority on the throne. And it's the 7 billion debt slaves who can instantly collaborate and change the authority that they recognize as king. But it doesn't happen until there's enough pain, right? Sadly. And I hope that people that they see that there's enough pain going on today. In this world, there's, it's a travesty what's going on with the Palestinians, with the Yemenis, with the eradication of all the races, the ongoing eradication of 90% of the population, and how it wars on African American people and all the First Nation people, the Polynesians, Hawaiians, the American Indians. Yah has law for a good news to heal it all with a refreshing. And the story of the Lion King is about a refreshing. It's the story of the Jubilee. It's the story of the Exodus. It's a change of monotheistic obedience to a different authority and rejecting the false imposter authority, and then willing to go on that hero's journey to fight to make it so that our children are safe. Okay, so you have a king, the father, great voice by Darth Vader guy. I can't, Jones? I forget his name. Great voice actor, great actor. Anyway, he's the king, right? So he represents Yahweh or Jacob, the line, the struggle over the birthright. And there's some plays in the New Testament, some plays in the Old Testament prophecies. Simba is the son. He's like the prodigal son, right? Simba's the prodigal son. He's off playing Hakuna Matata, and then he comes back to his father and he remembers, he honors his fathers. Simba, remember who you are. And David, or Yahweh says that to us right now. Israel, my bride, purify yourself. Remember who you are. Remember to be a chaste virgin. Remember to fear your groom. Remember to stop whoring with Esau and Uncle Sam and Rothschild and Pharaoh. All of it. The NFL, the NBA, pornography, all of it. Reject, come out of her, my people. Reject all of it. Okay, so Simba represents the son, Yeshua, the anointed one, because he's anointed in the beginning of the movie. He also, because we're the body of Christ, and we basically today, collectively, Israel, but we're also the body of Christ. So we have to go today from demanding our rights like petulant little children and demanding that we are take responsibility. Because when Simba awoke to his identity, you're Mufasa's son. Remember, you're the only hope. Remember your responsibility. Remember the promises that you gave to your father, to remember him, to honor your mother and protect your tribe. Remember who you are. Remember how your king commands you to not be a coward, to go when it's necessary and leave and get your nose dirty when it's necessary. Okay, Rafiki is the baboon. He's the prophet, right? He's the one that anoints Simba. And the anointing has holy cannabis oil in it, the holy anointing oil that anointed Old Testament Christians. The whole Bible is about the Christians, and the whole Bible is about the Israelites because they're the one and the same. It means the same thing. Okay, Pumbaa is like churchianity, right? Meaning, you can interchange this. It's basically the two sidekicks, the warthog and the meerkat, right? So they're both, they don't have their identity down. They're just like hanging out, and they're not hanging out with their own tribe, and they're playing Hakuna Matata, right? It's my worry-free philosophy, Hakuna Matata. I've been watching this with my kids a bunch because I use this to teach Scar is Esau. If you read the Bible, it's Esau, right? Esau was an imposter. The Jews before, Jerusalem was sacked. There's no controversy that Jerusalem was sacked and that the Jews were turned over into Babylonian captivity. There's no controversy. There's no Jews and Christians agree with that. The Old Testament law commands by Yah and a promise from the Creator King. You are protected if you obey. All right, so what modern Jews have to explain is how come you were sacked? By definition, you rebelled. You were in rebellion. That's why you were sacked. Because you allowed the corruption to go, because you allowed it to be taken over by the synagogue of Satan, the imposters. And you haven't cleansed the temple. It's time for Israel to have a house cleaning, to take the leaven out. Okay, so the different characters, and then Nala is the bride, right? So once he goes into his anointed status, there's a marriage. It's about a marriage and the child it grows up. And that's kind of like what happens with Israel generally, is when the king arrives, and he arrives through us. All of these are allegories within allegories, and the truth. They're also a historic fact. So Scar is the bad guy. He represents the money lenders, or Esau, Edom, or Herod. So the solution to the whole story, the bottom line there says, restore the usurped kingdom by remembering that we are the head and not the tail. The head are commanded to lend money, but without usury. Because usury, just like Nehemiah said, I pray ye leave off this usury. Again, all Old Testament stuff. Easy to prove, not difficult. Okay, I covered that. And I had another meme, and I forget what it is. How long have I gone? I felt like I've been going a long time. I'm looking for a clock on here, and I don't actually see it. 5:30. So I've been going an hour. I'll just put this meme up real quick just because I have it on here. And it's a good one. And it deals with the whole Nashek thing. I'll just read it. I won't get into like a big description as I'm prone to do, jabbering away. Okay, so I can read that there. Let's bring that forward. Okay, excellent. Be wise as serpents. So this is New Testament stuff. So there's stuff that's in the New Testament that will be helpful to the Jews. We love you, our brother Judah. We don't have animosity, but there's also prophecy where the righteous must rule, and we want your children with our children to be protected by our Creator. Be wise as serpents, Messiah said. And what does that mean? Like, what does that really mean? That means you have to be a real investigator of a crime to really dig deep way past the stuff they put in TV, way past the stuff that they put into books, way past the stuff in the church, and really sees like, who's everybody working for today? We're all working for the bankers, right? I'm not working for the Democrats and the Republicans. I'm not working for, like some otherworldly devil. This is a real world captivity. So when Jesus says in those days, surely as Moses raised a serpent in the wilderness, so it will be like at the coming of Yah, his return. That also means it's a revelation that it's this symbol that we're all working for these moneylenders. It's the pole and the snake and all that. So we have to be able to identify that these moneylenders are the head and we are the tail currently, and we have to flip this over. So to be wise is to see things that are hidden and camouflaged and silent and these deadly predators. Number 2, that usury is the venom of the Nashek snakebite. Number 3, the usurers finance both sides of wars. Order out of chaos. They finance simultaneously capitalism, communism, fascism, and U.S. constitutionalism, and anarchists and anarcho-capitalists, because they all justify usury. Number 4, usurers monopolize commodities like petroleum, diamonds, gold, uranium, silver, and Bitcoin. Number 5, usurers have unlimited funds to promote loyal opposition solutions like Bitcoin, gold, silver, and greenbacks, because the common man and woman do not have gold and silver and Bitcoin mines. So biblically speaking, when money failed, they used barter. You don't even need money to tithe for the feasts. So number 6, Israel is commanded to lend to many nations. So we do have to lend. We do need to have a money system. So number 7, what currency do all productive Israelites have? So if we're reaping and sowing and we're growing and we're making oil, we're shepherding sheep and we have flocks and herds and oil and corn, and we set up an agrarian society that still has, we have self-sufficiency, but additionally we have technology, but the technology serves us rather than being used to replace us. So the productive thing that all of us Israelites have that we can back a currency with is our own labor, and our labor is our time, and time is money. So we've been promoting a book called The Monetary System of the Most High. Exodus Hours. Hours is a local currency system based on usury abolition. So that's it for tonight. Figure that out. There we go. There's 5 people on. I'll read final. There's just a lot of squat. There's Samson raped the Canaanite queen Delilah. The Hebrews were nomadic tribal people who came from the Arabian Peninsula and kept wandering into the Fertile Crescent. They're nomadic, bumping in. The Philistines came from Santorini long before Judaism appeared to settle the coastal area of Palestine. Yah said, basically the way it works is Yah creates everything. So if there's some people plotted up on the land, Yah says, I plant gardens and my people plant gardens. What's going on, Daniel Duke? Abdul Kader Hamur is basically making the point that the Philistines and the Palestinians, whatever, they occupied the land first. Therefore, because they have first right of occupation, it means that they can't be removed. But that's not true. Yah commands himself is, I'm planting gardens. Yah says, I'm planting gardens and I'm using my people to do that. So if there's a group of people who are not creating a righteous society, like the Jews that are currently occupying Jerusalem, if they do not bear fruit, meaning obedience to Yah's laws, then they will be removed. So it's the hope for the Palestinians. The hope for the Palestinians is that people become spiritually aware, and they look at Israel like the movie Cinderella. We should think of the movie Cinderella because it's an allegory also, another Disney movie. And in that, there's a wedding. There's a prince who's looking for a bride if the shoe fits. And if the shoe fits, that means she obeys. She obeys this, the Creator. If that bride obeys the Creator, including usury abolition and tribal exodus government and rejecting Babylon, rejecting the Vatican, rejecting the Constitution and all forms of humanism, including capitalism, communism, fascism, constitutionalism, because this bride must absolutely be obedient to only the Creator King in order to be the King and the Son, one and the same. Obedient to look at the world and just weep in pain like Jeremiah for all of the engineered chaos and hate and psychodrama where people are blood-curdlingly angry at one another, like just willing to punch a Nazi, willing to punch the Antifas, yellow vesters fighting the police. That's what Babylon is doing, is just turning this confusion and then throwing alcohol and lighting a match and pornography and just carnalism, so fight or flight, feed and fornicate, fight, flight, feed, fornicate, and then just horrible music and then more alcohol and then throw some meth in there. That's what Babylon's doing to earth. And a lot of that is coming out of Rothschild Israel, a lot of the chemicals. So Henry Garman has a great comment here. Thank you, Henry. Time is the most valuable good in our lives and on our planet. Yeah, like time with Yah. Henry, I want you to see this video to see that it's working really well. Some other time, I'm running out right now. But if you can private message you, I've had several split screen videos. It works really well. This software, I'm very, very happy with it. It's called, what is it called? It has a funny name. StreamYard. It's got a duck logo. I don't get ducks swim in a stream, I guess. So the point being with all of this is the evidence, I hope, is plain that we have some imposters on the throne. I'm just going to read them real quick to summarize because it's a good teaching tool. That David would be murdered today, right? Even, imagine it's, because the Netanyahu today represents Saul. Rothschild today represents Saul because they're jealous and they're jealous of the righteous. They hate David's. And okay, I'm gonna remove that clip. Okay. The top 7 reasons why Netanyahu would murder David. Number 1, this whole fight is over Esau and Jacob. Today, Rothschild and Netanyahu represent Scar. They're imposters on the throne. Number 2, so that's prophecy. 666 versus the Menorah. The Menorah is scriptural, whereas the 666, which they represent, it's on my shirt, righteous Nehemiah. And righteous Nehemiah was fighting these moneylenders. They promote a matriarchal society. They have Janet Yellen as the top usurer. Number 4, their women and their children will rule over them. That's what we have today. The moneylenders at the top, they're the head of the snake. Number 4, we have a feminist society. The men have been castrated. Number 5, tribal exodus government is scriptural. What the Zionists are doing is the only democracy in the Middle East. And Adam and Eve set up a democracy, and Yah kicked them out of the garden because of it. Number 6, they have an Egyptian pyramid and an Egyptian obelisk in the Rothschild State of Israel Supreme Court building. Number 7, they do not promote Jubilee and a debtor's revolt like righteous Jew Nehemiah in Nehemiah 5. And that's what, if you want truly to beat your swords into plowshares, we have to be willing to be the bride that only obeys the prince. Joshua Hackett Says, not with General Joab on the scene. Joab? I don't get it. It's probably funny, but there's parts of the Bible I'm not sharp on. So I didn't get what is probably a good joke, and it's the joke's on me because I'm not well-versed in every verse. I really focused on cannabis and what type of government and what type of money and the economics of the Bible. That's kind of my focus in the Bible, and prophecy and what it takes to be a prophet and to qualify prophets, because those are the things that all of you, I believe all of you, we all need to get together. And that's why we want to get together this coming, I think it's like March, like the last weekend in March. There is a concert, a reggae concert called Reggae Rise Up. And the lineup is like every big reggae artist that you can imagine, just about. Like it's the biggest acts, like Tribal Seeds and Slightly Stupid and Stick Figure, and like militant reggae music down for the fight, you know, Fortunate Youth and Revolution, like militant bands, anti-establishment bands. And we want to get our tribal on. I want my son to see in the tribal way, you know how the Southwest Pacific Islanders have like this, like, you know what I mean? They just make faces and like making like their tongue do stuff like that. That's not what the Israelites do. But we also, rather than just deriding these different groups of not doing it correct, we need to do it properly, and we need to make training videos to teach our anointed brethren how we need to look and dress and act and conduct ourselves and create a jubilicious atmosphere. Because we're into Jubilee. We're into the kingdom. We are ambassadors for the kingdom. I know Henry Garman is, right? I'm positive Henry Garman. I know Richard David is. I am positive. I know Scott Bunnell is. I am positive. I know Jim Callahan is. I know Danny is. I can't remember his last. I am positive that he is down for it. It sounds to me like John Michael Sudol is down for, he knows what's up with what's up. All right? So, but it's a very fine line of being physical and being cowed and turned into a coward. It's an anointed, righteous, noble calling to lead by example, but not turn ourselves into beasts, angry. We have to not rush to judgment, be slow to anger, to take a brother aside quietly to correct him, and don't embarrass him in front of a bunch of people so it turns into an ego battle, right? We should chasten, but there's a technique to do it best, and I fail at it all the time. I'm not claiming any sort of moral superiority. So that's all for tonight, and I thank you for your comments, everyone. And I appreciate we're getting, like, you know, for me, 5 viewers is a lot. That gives me hope, because we don't need very many, and it will grow exponentially, because all that these videos do is we're just sharing the good news. We're sharing that there's a cause and effect. And the reason why the simple cause and effect is that just as quickly as we can decide to be deceived by this thing and have confidence in this thing, we can just as quickly turn our hearts of stone to hearts of flesh, like, I am a bride that's chastened and incorrect. I'm a bride that's flawed, and my heart is pierced. I'm willing to change teams like Moses did, and remember that I am not an Egyptian. I am not a Zionist and part of his empire. I'm not part of the one world order. I'm not part of Babylon. I'm not part of the humanistic system. I'm part of a tribal Exodus government that wishes to leave this satanic society. And there's some usury abolitionists who are Muslim, from our brother Ishmael. And as hard as that is to imagine, there are places in the world where the Jews and the Persians get along. Like there's not this demon, this third-party demon, which is always stirring up crap. It's always initiating stuff, always trying to create psychodrama, right? And there's a movie, a Star Trek episode called Day of the Dove. Check it out, Star Trek Day of the Dove. Check that out, and all done for tonight. And the prayer is from the Lord, our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts. Thank you, Father. And we'll forgive our debtors, these moneylenders. We don't come with anger and hate. We just come with good news to restore that which has been stolen. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For yours is the power and the glory and the kingdom forever and ever. Hallelujah, brothers. We got this. We got this. Rasta stuck a knife to Babylon's throat. You stick that knife in and twist it. And they are not, and that's the thing, is this information in this video is created for the witnesses of Revelation to take it into Jerusalem as the witnesses of Revelation, because when they speak fire, the word of Yah, the fire, they don't want this on the TV and the radio, because it differentiates the bride that wants to come with good news, true Israelites, as opposed to the angry, hating black Hebrew Israelites. Or there's other groups of Israelites which are very hostile to other races. The hostility and cannabis of Exodus keeps you out of all of that hate, because there's currently people who are Jews who are going to be part of the obedient bride. There's going to be some people who say they're Christians that are going to be part of the obedient bride, because it's about quitting Pharaoh more than it is about all of the, whether you're wearing tzitzis. I'm saying you do need to wear tzitzis. However, it's about the bride. Stop sleeping around, because we are sleeping around and getting our authority from all sorts of other places, like the meerkat and the warthog, instead of getting our morality from our Creator. So I can go on all night. Thanks for listening. Adios, amigos.